Guys, so before we get right into the video, obviously I haven't posted in around 2 weeks, and I just wanted to say that I took a little break, but now I'm back, and you guys should be seeing uploads every week, and maybe you guys will see 2 videos in a week for a few weeks. So hopefully that happens. I hope you guys enjoy. I had a great time filming this episode, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Tobey's Talk Show. This is episode number 25. And today we are here with Mike, who is known as Mike Delivers on social media. Mike is the co-founder of the Pros Club, a producer for the Zach Gelb Show, and the founder of the Mike Delivers podcast. Mike, it is so great to have you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, Toby. Thank you so much for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Of course. So today I just thought it would be cool. I'll ask you a few questions about personally yourself first, and then we could just talk about the NBA, Orlando, what's going to go on, our thoughts, maybe our predictions, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Sweet.
Awesome. So I do want to ask you a few questions first, just because I want me and the audience to get to know you a little better.
Sure.
So my first question is a question I think everyone can easily answer, but everyone has different answers to this. And it's, what did a day in your life look like before COVID-19, and how has it changed because of COVID-19?
Yeah, very good question. And so right now I'm the producer, as you mentioned, for the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And that show is in New York City in Lower Manhattan. And the show is from 6 to 10 Eastern daily, Monday to Friday. So what that meant was get up in the morning. And if you're a producer for a radio show, it's a 24/7 job. I'd like to say you clock in, you clock out, but you really don't, because you're always looking for news, sports stories, guests, so on and concepts. So pre-quarantine, get up in the morning. I would hopefully get a little exercise in, go to my gym, have a lot of coffee, which has not changed. That's still the same. And from there, I would probably do a couple of Uber Eats runs, go on the road, get a little time in, a couple of hours, all while I'm sort of making sure to keep up with the news, keep up with everything going on in the world, keep up with sports, booking guests, and at the same time doing some of my Uber Eats deliveries. And then basically the major difference is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd have to try to get into the city. So take the train into New York City, take the subways into New York, and then bam, into the studio there from about 4 to 10, 11 o'clock at night. Come on back home with the subways, with the trains, do the whole thing again in the morning. And because of everything going on with COVID-19, I've basically just been producing from my house. So I wake up in the morning, do a lot of work for my podcast, for the Pros Club, for the Zach Gelb Show. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because since I haven't been able to go into work, I found that I've actually been able to accomplish a lot more and get a lot more work done. Believe it or not, commuting into New York City back and forth, that takes 3 hours of a day, really chews up a lot of time. So biggest difference for me is just get up in the morning, work, maybe go for a jog outside, try to do some of these workouts with my wife that I can't do where my muscles are feeling achy. And that is it, man. But, a lot less commuting for sure.
I understand. My school is in the Bronx and I live in Manhattan, so it's like a nice 50-minute drive each way every day. So I completely understand, and I'm enjoying the no travel time as well.
Right? It's nice.
Yeah. And so my next question for you, I know we talked about a little bit before we started recording, but so the reason why you are a Net fan rather than a Knicks fan, and most of my followers are Knicks fans, so they might not be happy when they heard that, was because of your dad, correct? And just you went to the Barclays, or you went to New Jersey?
This was back
New Jersey.
in Jersey, but yeah, exactly. So I grew up in New Jersey, and I got into the Nets when I was like, I want to say 8 or 9 years old, and they had a shooting guard, and his name was Drazen Petrovic, and you could go to the Meadowlands and you could see the Nets for like $10-20, and I lived 10 minutes from the stadium, and he was there, and you had Kenny Anderson, Derek Coleman, and I just never got into the Knicks vibe. Like, I know a lot of people from New Jersey went and watched the Knicks because it was so close, and you look at other teams, right? Like, obviously the Mets and Yankees, people from Jersey are either Met or Yankee fans, just no New Jersey team, but I really gravitated to the idea of what my favorite sport is, and it still is in basketball. There's a team 10 minutes away from me, and the hype of the Mecca and the Garden, I just did not get excited for it. And I always I have a team in my backyard. Why would I want to go hour away to go into the city and see another team play. I've got a team in my backyard. I fell in love with Drazen Petrovic. I fell in love with Kenny Anderson, Derek Coleman. And as a kid growing up, I was like, this is my team. I'm proud to be a Nets fan, and I will never be into the Knicks. Not happening.
That's a pretty fair reason. I'll let it slide, but still we're not there. I gotta support the Knicks no matter what.
No, I understand, but it's good. You got to support your team. You got to love your team, and I totally respect that. I totally understand that. Another podcast I do with my friend Alex, he's a big Knicks fan, and him and I disagree on a lot of things, obviously, with the Knicks stuff, but I respect your fanhood, and that's what it's all about. You got to love your team. The Knicks aren't good right now, but who knows in sports? Who knows how things change? And that payoff, that moment when they do win, hopefully it never happens, but you'll enjoy it.
I was actually about to jump into the Orlando stuff, but I gotta ask you, what was your reaction when Kevin Durant and Kyrie signed? Because I know my reaction.
It was awesome. I loved it, and I'll be honest, I loved it for a couple of reasons. I loved it because I got to see the Nets really turn a page and the evolution of where they came from. I mean, they were in a bad spot. Yeah. They were in a bad spot after they made the Kevin Garnett deal, the Paul Pierce trade, and Jason Terry. They gave up all their draft picks of the Celtics, which have become guys that, I don't know, maybe are decent, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I guess they're okay. So that trade happened. The Nets were set back for years, and they rebuilt it. And they rebuilt it the right way. And it was awesome to see the payoff of Durant and Kyrie coming to Brooklyn. Obviously, that means nothing. They still have to go out and win. They haven't accomplished anything. But we'll see what Durant is. And if he's a healthy Kevin Durant, I'm very much looking forward to seeing Knicks fans crying. That'll be very exciting. And then on the other front, I'm going to be honest. Like, it felt good to see Knicks fans upset. It felt really good to see them say, wait a minute. We're the Knicks. Yeah, exactly. We're so great. Everybody loves us. Why would anybody want to play with the New Jersey, now Brooklyn Nets? That was kind of cool, and it stroked my ego, and it made me feel good. And again, though, it means nothing. They've got to win some games, or it doesn't matter.
It was just upsetting. Because the media got my hopes up so much. The media pushed the narrative, and then I mean, at the same time, I was going with the media. I was like, guys, I think we have a chance, but I knew in the back of my head, because of the last 7 years of me actually following the Knicks and the sadness that has come with that, I prepared myself for us to not get them. And with Kyrie, I think everyone kind of knew he was going with the Nets a few weeks before, just when he signed with Rock Nation and stuff. I think that was more obvious. But Kevin Durant, I was still holding on for hope. But
well, who knows too how things changed when he got hurt in that finals against the Raptors. I mean, I'd be lying. I think only Kevin Durant knows the answer. Who knows what his plans were? Maybe they were to go to the Knicks, and then things got changed a little bit, and he ended up pairing with Kyrie and going to Brooklyn. I mean, we'll never know. And for me, I'm just like, I can't wait to see him on the court. I can't wait to see Kevin Durant play, and I'm dying to see what he looks like on the court. Because right now, it almost feels like a ghost. It's like it hasn't even really happened. It's been about a year since they signed him. He hasn't played a minute yet. The season's obviously in chaos, and then we'll see what happens next year. But I'm really looking forward to it.
I definitely will be tuning into some Nets games, even though I don't want to, because it'll definitely be some exciting games against the top-tier team.
As a basketball fan, it's just you're just intrigued to see what Durant looks like after being off for however months. That'll be 18 months, whatever it ends up being.
I'll watch, but I will not be rooting for the Nets. I'll just say that.
Fair. I understand. I get it. I totally get it.
I want to jump into Orlando, since a lot of news has kind of abruptly, exploded, and we kind of now have a real plan for the season and, the future of the NBA. So I wanted to ask first, and we could, just talk back and forth about this. But what did you like the idea of the 22-team format with the West, and do you think they should do something for the 8 teams that didn't do it? So what are your thoughts on the format?
Part one of your question, I was like, normally I'm not for this kind of stuff, like wacky tournaments, let's have play-in games, but considering the circumstances, where we are, what's going on in the world, I was all about it. I'm totally cool with it, and I'm cool with the NBA if they want to manipulate to get Zion Williamson into this tournament. He's a special player. He's fun to watch, and I want to see him play. I'd be lying if I said, "All right, basketball's going to start up in July, basically August, end of July. Yeah. Do you want to see Zion or do you not want to see Zion?" And I'd raise my hand and say I want to see Zion. So I'm okay with what they did. I understand it's not perfect and it's not beautiful, and I also understand too. I like that they have an 8-game bridge before they get to the playoffs, because I think it would be unfair to the players, and I think it'd be unfair to the fans that if you turned on a game And these guys had not played in 5 months, and boom, all of a sudden you're in a playoff game. People could be getting hurt. The matchups could be all funky because better teams haven't played in a while. So I think that 8 games is a nice way to just kind of dip your toe in the water and get ready for the playoffs. So I like that. I like the format. I was cool if they wanted to do a World Cup style. I just want to see basketball. I don't even care. Part two of your question, the teams that did not make it, honestly, like, sorry, season's over. Good luck next year. I know it'd be cute, and I'd have a different feeling if my team wasn't there, but I'm just, just move on. You didn't make the playoffs. It's over. If it's a revenue standpoint where they think they can get TV revenue and money in, I get that. But I also have some fear, like if you're a Knicks fan, for example, do you want these guys playing in a meaningless game?
No.
Do you want Mitchell Robinson going out there, who's one of the Knicks' better players and prospects? He's going out for 8 games for meaningless. It's not like the Knicks can win anything.
I don't want the Knicks
I'd be
to win.
scared as a fan seeing him on the court.
I mean, I actually didn't even want the Knicks to make it because I want I'm fine with us at number 6. So I mean, I thought we're not even close to the playoffs or anything. We're just gonna move up in the standings and then not make
Right.
it. Or even for teams like us, like if they invited us, my thoughts is like, okay, what? Even if we make it, we're just gonna get bounced by the Bucks and like I didn't even want we were at a point where like our team sucked. Like we tried in free agency after Plan A was shut down, and for teams like the Cavs, the Hornets, like what were you got? Like you weren't going to accomplish anything. Like what your team was built. You knew what was going to happen, and even if you somehow did, make it to the playoffs, obviously you want to make the playoffs for experience.
Sure.
I guess pride and just the players would be happier.
Right.
I understand, but for teams that like the Cavs, I know they were complaining. Like you guys were the second worst team. Like if they did if they did a 26 team bracket, you wouldn't be in it. So I don't really understand that. And following up with you with the 22 team, I think it makes sense. I think how they did it also makes sense. They didn't do 11 and 11, which I liked. I think they did it fairly, which is if your team is close enough to make it, and if you guys had a real shot, which is I think it was 4 games back, which is why they did 8 games. I think it makes sense, and I think look, you guys, I think it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You could really find out, even though it's not 82 games, you could find out who really deserved the 8th seed because he did cut it off. In the mix of things, at least in the West. And then also, I just forgot my thought. Oh, but also it lets the players play a few games and get kind of get that rust off, which is good. So I think Adam Silver's done a great job. I think the plan is great, and I mean I'm just excited to see basketball again, even though my Knicks won't be there.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. It's going to be strange to see guys on a neutral court, and I think a big deal here, and I don't think people are really thinking about it yet. Maybe they shouldn't be because there's a lot going on in life and there's a lot more important things right now. But as far as when these games get going, like I'm thinking as a Net fan, all right, the Nets right now are a 7 seed. They don't have enough talent to win a championship. I understand that. But do they have enough to beat the Raptors in a best of 7 when it's on a neutral court and guys haven't played in 5 months? Maybe this is going to be more interesting than people think. I think outside, I mean, even like Bucks, Orlando, these teams haven't played in forever. And a big deal, like in Milwaukee, in Toronto, that home court advantage is such a big deal. Nets are not going to Toronto without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and winning basketball games. It's just too difficult. But put them on a neutral site when they haven't played in 5 months.
Definitely.
I don't know. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? And I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue and excitement there. And I think you're going to see a lot of chaos in the playoffs and a lot of upsets that will happen and a lot of stuff, a lot of weird play that we have not seen before for obvious reasons. So I expect a wild couple of months in basketball.
I mean, I agree, and I'm very excited. And I mean, what's also good about this season is that most likely with the plan that they have ahead in the future, that it will be a shorter off season. So we're going to get a lot of basketball in the next year-ish, so I'm very excited.
Oh, I know. It's going to be like a month layoff or whatever it is. So the season's going to end early October 12th, I think would be the potential for Game 7. And then, boom, December, we're going to have NBA again. I mean, so for as much as we did not have right now, you're going to all of a sudden have an overflow of basketball. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in that next season. What teams do, how they condense the schedule, how many games they get in, how it moves everything, and get ready for load management 101 because there's going to be so many games in a short amount of time coming off playoffs you're going to see guys taking nights off here and there. So it's going to be interesting to see how the NBA moves from this, what they do. And I also think because Adam Silver's creative, they're going to use this time to their advantage and experiment with things that maybe they couldn't in the past. But now they have a built-in excuse. So I'll be curious to see what else Adam Silver in the league does that they experiment with in the next 6 to 12 months.
Definitely, like I said, I think Adam Silver has done a great job, especially with this year, with everything he's had to do with the organization. And so, I mean, props to him, and I believe in him, and I think we have a great NBA owner going forward.
Yeah, no, Adam Silver's done a tremendous job. He is the, if you look at some of the other leagues, the NBA and the NBA PA are really the most in line and in sync, and they probably don't agree with each other on everything, but they're at least in line enough to make decisions to move forward to get the league started. I mean, Major League Baseball isn't anywhere close. That's a major disaster. Baseball should be, in their view, they could have been playing right now in a getaway spot in like Arizona in a bubble spot. That has not happened. So at least kudos to the NBA. They've been able to figure out a way to get it done. And like I said before, maybe you don't love the idea that only 22 teams are going, and it's not even in the East and West, but they figured something out, and hopefully they get moving forward, and we get some basketball to watch.
Definitely. So the next question I have, Mike, is a question I'm sure everyone talks about daily, and it's who do you think is going to win the NBA championship? If you had to predict, obviously it's a lot harder now. And why do you believe the team that you chose?
I think it's going to be the Lakers, and sometimes what I do is like I play in my head kind of like the future and what it looks like, and I just have this vision of LeBron James winning this championship. And because only this would happen to LeBron, right? Oh, yeah, he won that 4th title, but it was in a bubble. It was a different circumstance. And I think that would be highly unfair because I think in a lot of ways, the team that wins this championship should almost be given more kudos for what they did. This is not normal. This is unprecedented times. And I think as far as a basketball standpoint, it's going to hurt the Lakers at first. They were in a really good rhythm. They were playing really well. Last game, actually, they lost. That was the Nets. That was the last game I got to see where Spencer Dinwiddie had that nice little fallback jumper. But so that's an aside. Just had to sneak in a little Nets point. I like what the Lakers are doing. I know the layoff is going to be funky for them, but with LeBron and Anthony Davis together, that pairing seems to be really tough. And from the Clippers standpoint, they never really gelled to begin with. So I'm curious to see what they look like when they come back together, if they can gel fast enough. I think because the Lakers had that moment, they can do that. And I just don't trust Giannis in the playoffs quite yet. I need to see the Bucks do it. I need to see them get through the gauntlet, get to the finals. From that standpoint, though, I'd love to see a Bucks-Lakers NBA Finals. And that's what I think we're going to get. I know that's like the obvious, easy answer, but I just don't see anybody else getting past the Bucks. Maybe if the Celtics and Tatum can take a leap in the playoffs, if the Sixers and Embiid and Simmons could ever mesh, the talent's there, but they're missing something without Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick. The Celtics could give them a hard time. I don't believe in the Raptors. I don't. I think they're kind of I think this is a nice regular season team, but once they get to the playoffs without Kawhi there, they'll be missing him. So when I get to I see a Lakers-Bucks matchup, and I see the Lakers bringing home a title, and then everybody on sports talk radio and all the TV shows going, does that title count for LeBron? Is it equal?
Definitely.
And we can have all of that fun.
I mean, Skip Bayless is already saying it. I saw yesterday on my Instagram that Skip Bayless was like, nope, it doesn't count. And it was funny.
I mean, it's funny, too, because, let's say this was – because I saw Michael play a little bit.
Yeah. If
this was Michael Jordan right now, everybody would be like, wow, wow, Michael, he was able to take those guys and bring them to a championship. After a 5-month layup, Michael Jordan could do it. Yeah. LeBron, it doesn't count. Yeah. I mean, the narrative there, it's unbelievable, the difference, which I don't personally think is fair. So I hear you on that.
It was funny because I actually wrote that question down, that do you think there should be an asterisk for this championship? And I think there should be, but not for the reason that it should be negatively viewed. I just think there should be an asterisk saying, okay, this is what happened. None of us could control that. It's not anyone's fault. But, you look back and this was a year that, a lot of things no one expected to happen happened. And we were put in Orlando, and that's what happens, and that's what it is, and that's what you have to deal with. And, in my case, I'm going to still say that whatever team wins this year, I think they're the champion and they rightly deserve that. Everyone got the same break that as everyone else got. Everyone was quarantined in their home just like everyone
Sure.
else. So they're even though it may be different from the every other championship, all these players are on the same level, and so these guys are the ones competing against each other. You're not comparing Steph Curry from 2018 to now. Like you're doing these players, and that's what it is, and that's why I think that there should be an asterisk, just because it's a little different, and we should all recognize that. But I don't know if we should recognize. I don't think we should recognize that negatively. I just think we
Right.
should recognize that as something that happened in the NBA history. And then going to who I think would win the championship, I actually have the Clippers. And the
Mm.
reason why I say that is because I think when you look at the star power of LeBron AD, I think that does outmatch Kawhi and Paul George to a degree. But I just think the Clippers' depth, just I could, for me, I just think the Clippers' depth when it comes to it is just a lot better than the Lakers' depth, and that's why I like the Clippers. I also am just someone that believes in Kawhi, and I feel like
Mm.
when Kawhi wants to do something, he'll do it, and I think he'll get it done. Um, and so I think it will be obviously like everyone else probably believes Lakers Clippers, um, and I think they'll battle it out in the conference finals. I think maybe the only other team I believe in is the Rockets. If any other team were to slip into the conference finals, I think maybe the Rockets could sneak in and beat the Clippers. I think that's how the playoffs would end up. But I think the Lakers and Clippers probably would definitely, if I had to bet money, it'd definitely be on the Lakers and Clippers. And on the Eastern Conference side, I think the Bucks are going to honestly walk right through the East. I think Giannis is ready to show the world that he'll make it to the finals.
Mm.
But like you said, I don't think he's ready to kind of take that next step and win the championship, because that's like a whole other level. Um, and that really puts you on the pedestal. Like you carry this team to the championship. I don't know if Giannis is there
Sure.
yet. He hasn't even made the finals. Obviously, it's going to be even more different since I don't know if there'll be as much pressure without the fans there. But obviously, everyone's dealing with that, so I don't know. But I kind of disagree with you on the Raptors thing. I actually really like the Raptors. I think they were just there. They know how to get there. And I think Kyle Lowry has still enough in that tank to really make a push as that point guard, and Pascal Siakam's only getting better. And I think the Raptors also have a really good depth. They have a lot of young and just talented players like Norman Powell. They have Terrence Davis, who's this young guy, Chris Boucher, all these guys who aren't the biggest names, but they all have a big impact on the games. And I think people may not realize that or recognize that, but as someone who honestly likes the Raptors and follows them a little bit, I think they have a really good chance to I think make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know. I don't believe they'd make it to the finals again, but yeah, those are my conference finals/finals. I think the Bucks would break through, and then it'd probably either be Lakers Clippers, but my money's on the Clippers.
And what I think will be interesting too about like this Lakers Clippers Western Conference Finals matchup. So in a typical normal world, if these two teams were to play each other, it would have been at Staples Center.
Right.
And as much as we want to say like the Clippers would have home court in game 3 and 4, they would not. That was going to be a pro Laker crowd for all 7 games, let's say, if it went there. So if you have a Laker home court versus the Clippers, I think that's a big deal when trying to reach the NBA Finals. Let's take the Lakers and Clippers now, and let's put them in a bubble site with no fans, no home court. You're evening this matchup, this series out a little bit. So I'm disappointed because, and I get it, there's nothing we can do. I was looking forward to seeing what a Lakers Clippers matchup looked like at Staples Center.
Yeah.
That was going to be a lot of fun, and to see if all these Laker fans would show up and drown out Clipper fans in games 3 or 4. And as a Net fan, I understand this. I know what it's like. I remember going to Net Knick games and hearing the annoying Knick fans not shutting up. I get it. I have a lot of anxiety about it, so I understand this. So I'll be sort of curious to see what that looks like from a matchup standpoint if those two teams do end up making it that far, which, you and I are in agreement with probably will happen.
Oh, definitely. Obviously, something like seeing, Staples Center packed with Lakers and Clippers fan is something we may not see, which stinks. But I'm hoping maybe next year that could happen also, maybe a repeat. But yeah, that's something I would have loved to see. But, it is what it is, and at least we get to see them play, and at least we get to see, which team is better, because, fans, no fans, whatever, I want to know, which team is going to pull it out, which team is the better. I didn't want to leave that in the air for the rest of my life. So at least we have,
I'm with
at least
you
we have
100%.
it. So Mike, my next question for you, is probably my favorite question to ask, just because I think there are so many different answers that are acceptable. And that is which player specifically do you think has the most pressure on him in these playoffs?
I think it's Giannis. I think LeBron and Kawhi have their titles. I think it really boils down to three guys and then some sub players. But I think it's Giannis. I think he needs to come out and have a good showing. I think he needs to, at the very least, make it to the NBA Finals. And I think for him too, next year's his last year under contract with the Bucks. I'd be nervous as a Buck fan if he leaves. The franchise is done for at least the short term future, of course. But I think Giannis, it's time. You're going to win MVP again. Like, you got to go out, and if you got to perform and get your team to at least an NBA Finals, you can't fall short to a Celtic team that has star players. That's best player in Jason Tatum is 23 years old. You've got to go out. You've got to make it to the finals. Obviously, a lot of pressure on LeBron to get there and to win a championship. But I think his legacy is already cemented. I mean, there's debates who's the best player, him or MJ. So winning another title at this point obviously would be awesome. Yeah. But I think for him, it'll be a backdrop. I think it's on Giannis. How about you?
I agree with the LeBron statement. I think LeBron's legacy. We know the player he is, the player he was, and we know where his legacy lies, which is obviously I think everyone would agree probably in everyone's top 3 players of all time, at least top 5. And obviously, like, the championship would help, but by what degree he can't really go that much higher on the list.
Right.
So for me, I think Giannis is definitely, like I said, I think he needs to show that he's improving in the playoffs, at least with him being able to bring a team to the next level. But for me, it's honestly James Harden, and the reason why I say that is because I think this is James Harden. Besides 2018. I think this is James Harden because obviously I'm saying this as now I know that they made it to the Western Conference Finals Game 7. But I think this year is probably one of James Harden's last year to really win that championship as the main guy. And obviously, it's hard because you have these 2 juggernauts in the Lakers and Clippers there. But I think James Harden, if he wins that ring could really push his legacy from a regular season guy who scored these points to a guy that really brought his team to the next level. And obviously right now he's known as more of a choker and a guy that doesn't really play well in the playoffs. And so I think also Russell Westbrook would also get some of that pressure. I think it's a mix. I think the Rockets team in general, Mike D'Antoni's probably under a lot of pressure because it might be his last year. Daryl Morey, he's had some troubles with China, and I know that he's been in Twitter a lot, and so he may have some pressure on if he's staying. I don't know. But I think that whole Rockets team, I think a lot of people have seen them as underachieve in these past few years with James Harden, and James Harden really at his prime. And so I think this may be one of the last years where, you have the point guard still in Russell Westbrook. You have James Harden, who's still dropping 35 a game. And I saw this crazy statistic that I think Bradley Beal is the second leading points per game scorer. I think he needs to average 62 points per game in the 8 games to match James Harden, which is
not gonna happen.
It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. So it just shows how James Harden offensively is so talented. But if I wasn't gonna say Giannis, I'd probably say James Harden and Russell Westbrook, just because these 2 guys are known as more chokers and guys who haven't really elevated their teams in the playoffs. And maybe this year could be the year.
Yeah, that's fair. I think because there's not this overall perception by people that the Rockets are going to make it to the NBA Finals. I think that there's almost this idea that they won't. Yeah. So from that perspective, I believe that the pressure isn't there on Harden because nobody expects him to get to the finals. Nobody expects him to get there. So unlike LeBron and Kawhi, I'd say if you don't make the finals, this whole thing was a bust. You were supposed to be here. What happened? I think Harden, unfortunately, because he's had so little success in the playoffs, and has fallen short at the biggest of moments. I mean, whatever some of those 3-point shooting performances were against Golden State. Yeah. I know they lost Chris Paul.
27.
He had his shot, man. And I saw the Harden during this quarantine. It looks like he lost 20 pounds or something. Looks like skinny James Harden. I know Kendrick Perkins was like, skinny James Harden means they're gonna go win an NBA title now, or at least contend for one. I am curious, though, out of all the bubble teams that are making it, and talking about going to the bubble, the Rockets to me are the most intriguing because of the way they play, the time off they had. I'll be curious to see if their style after this huge layoff almost works to their advantage. They're the biggest mystery team to me in this playoffs. Them and the Sixers.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see both those teams play because if like you look at Philly, I don't have it exactly in front of me, but their home road splits.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
the Sixers basically on the road are the Knicks.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
That's
at
fair.
home, they're the best team in the
I
NBA.
know.
So record wise, so I don't know what are the Sixers going to look like. A team that has two different identities. What are they going to look like on a neutral court? I'm dying to see. Like I just don't know. We'll have to just watch and find out.
Definitely. I'm excited. Like I said, there are so many different questions you could ask yourself during these playoffs,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to get them all answered in a few months. I really am.
That's right, exactly.
And so this is the last question of the day, and I think it's one where it's very interesting because this could be a really big issue. And that is, what do you think the NBA should do if some of the players, or maybe a whole team, or maybe even one of the players contracts the virus? What do you think the NBA should do? It's hard.
I mean, yeah, it's a hard answer to give you, and that's why I'm not paid the kind of money that these guys are getting paid to figure out these answers. And I don't think you can come up with a blanket answer. I think every case has to be individual. I think it's different, and I'm just being hard truth. Like if LeBron James comes down with it, it's different than a guy that's a 12th man on the bench of the Orlando Magic. It's just reality. You know, LeBron is the marquee guy.
Yeah.
So I think every single case has to be taken differently. But if somebody has it, I mean, they've got to be quarantined for 2 weeks, and that's it. And they have to get the team tested. And then if it comes back and all the team has it, et cetera, then they have to take a different approach, and then they have to go and move forward from there. So, and then if that means that team's out, then I guess maybe that team's out. But they've got to take it. They've got to obviously be testing all the time, and they have to be making sure that they're transparent with each other. The last thing you need is people lying to each other, people not telling the truth, guys playing with it, and nobody tells anybody. So I think each case is individual. I think it depends on what happens, but I do think they have to be transparent and honest. And if they have to do something that people are going to be upset with, they have to do it.
I agree. I mean, I think it was tough because the reason why I asked is because I was talking to my dad, and my dad was like, "What do you think would happen if 7 players on a team got the virus?" And I was like, "Bring the G League guys up?" Like, I don't know. I mean, I think that's what you have to do. Like, especially if they were in the playoffs, like, what else can you do? Like, you can't be like, "Sorry, Jazz, could you give us 2 weeks?" Like, they have a schedule. They have the draft planned out, the lottery planned out, the next season planned out. You can't really. I mean, I guess they can. It depends what the NBA wants to do. I'm sure Adam Silver's probably thought about this. I'm sure they probably went through all the different situations and found answers to it. But I mean, I guess that's what you would have to do. That's the only way. I just don't think they can wait. But if it is one player, I guess you test everyone else, and hopefully most of them are negative, and you move on and you keep playing. But I guess it's different. Like when you look at the Jazz and Thunder game when Rudy Gobert got it, that was different because that was when it really started blowing up, and you had to shut everything down because everyone was shutting everything down, even though the league NBA was kind of the first league to shut the season down. But I think in this case scenario, we all know what the virus is now. I think we all have a better picture of what the virus is, what it does, the effects of it. And I think so we could take, we don't have to shut the whole season down if someone was to get it. But I think, we still got to be cautious. It's not something you could just mess around with. And if you get it, like you said, quarantine for 2 weeks, make sure everyone else is fine, then I guess you got to move on.
Yeah, I wish, and like you and your dad are talking about, these are the same conversations. As simple as it sounds, it's like these are the same conversations that Adam Silver and Michelle Roberts of the NBA PA are having, and they're having with the different owners. What do we do? And you would expect, and you would think that they have at least an outline and a guideline of what they can do in certain circumstances. And knock on wood that none of this happens. And I know last night a report came out that some of these players are still a little weary about going in there. They're scared. They don't want to get themselves contract the virus, which I understand and respect. So there's still a lot of questions out there, and this is not going to be as simple as going to the court and they start playing games. And it's something that even moving forward for the years in the future, like hopefully the more advanced technology becomes, and now that we've seen this virus and we can get modern medicine to adapt with it as time moves forward and help make sure that we don't have to deal with what we're doing now. But until then, there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of question marks, and we're just going to be living them in real time.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like I also saw that statement with the NBA players maybe not wanting to come, and I understand that. And you can't blame players for that. It is a risk. But
Yeah.
I mean, I heard I think they would take away salary. I think that makes sense. If you don't want to go to your job, then you won't get paid. But I mean, I understand it. You can't really put pressure on people if they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel comfortable. And I think the
Yeah.
NBA did a great job of saying, look, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to come. It's okay. So like I said, just more claps for Adam Silver. I think he's done a great job trying to figure out every single issue and how they could solve it. And I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm just really excited for the NBA season to come back and watch some
Totally.
basketball. It's been a while.
That's for sure. Yeah.
So Mike, that's really it. That's all the questions I have. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a great episode.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Enjoyed it. I like talking. I like talking basketball. I like things I like talking. I like talking basketball. I like talking food, and I like talking about how the Knicks will never be good again. And I
Okay.
like talking about how the Nets will
That
dominate
was
them for years to
unnecessary.
come.
Unnecessary.
And I love knowing that every Knicks fan growing up right now will one day move forward and become. No, I don't even care about that. I just want to win a championship. I love all Knicks fans. They're good people. It's all good. I really appreciate you having me on. It was fun. Thank you, Tobey.
It was great. I mean, even just talking about basketball gets me so excited. So
I know. I can
was
tell.
awesome.
It's awesome, man. That's
But
cool.
the NBA, the Nets. I hope you guys get crushed by Giannis for the next 3 years. I hope Giannis stays on the Bucks and dominates. And yeah, that's really it, Mike. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on anytime you want.
Have a good one, Mike. Thank you.
All right, Tobey. Good stuff. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be good,
Peace
man.
out.